Support for this show is brought to you by SoberLink. There's something about the new year that feels like a collective sigh of relief. The calendar flips, schedules can breathe, and you finally have a moment to take stock of how far you've come and where you want to go next. If you're ready to take your recovery to the next level, I have one word for you: SoberLink. SoberLink isn't just a breathalyzer. It's the connective tissue between sobriety and trust. The difference between "are they sober" and "I know they're sober." Here's how it works. You test at scheduled times throughout the day. Built-in facial recognition confirms it's really you, and tamper sensors prevent you from cheating. Within seconds, your results are shared with your support network, like your sponsor or loved ones. Recovery's hard enough. Proving your sobriety shouldn't have to be. Visit www.soberlink.com/recovery-elevator to sign up and claim your $100 enrollment bonus. Again, that's soberlink.com/recovery-elevator to claim your $100 enrollment bonus. There's a link in the show notes as well. Recovery Elevator episode 586.
And a lot of people do open up and they're like, wow, I'm really glad that I'm not the only one not drinking. It makes me feel more comfortable.
Welcome to the Recovery Elevator Podcast. My name is Paul, and this is how we quit. On today's episode, we've got a panel of sober rock stars who I'm doing a live Q&A with. You guys are going to love it. There's so much knowledge and wisdom and sobriety in this group. And after the interview with the panel, I'm going to share some words about how addiction just might be the answer. So this is a live recording at Recovery Point, which is a local resource center for those who struggle with addiction in the drunkest county in America, Gallatin County. Let's do this. Hello, everybody. Ty, over here. Got it. All right. Hey, it's live, right? Good to be here with everybody. We're doing a live Recovery Elevator Podcast interview with a panel of rock stars. We've got Jay. We've got Jennifer, we've got Chris, and we've got Linda. We've got two members from Café RE in the middle. That's Jennifer and Chris. We have two representatives from Recovery Point. We'll hear what Recovery Point is all about in just a second. But we are doing this live recording for an event we have here each year in Gallatin County called Give Big. It's where all the nonprofits come together and raise money. It's neat how we work together. Together we are better. And we're pumped to be part of it. And there is something that I want to mention before we get started. It's almost a theme. I was with Greater Impact last night, Recovery Point, and we had a table and a booth, and we kept saying that in the drunkest county in America, this is where the Recovery Podcast is broadcasted out to the world. And this is where Recovery Point is held. So it is such a needed resource right here in this building. And also, last night, so there's all the tables for the nonprofits. And where do you think they put the recovery tent, recovery elevator, and Greater Impact? Right next to the bar. Right next to the bar. And at first we were going to move. We were actually gathering our belongings, going to go to a different spot. And we said, hey, you know what? There's no coincidences, because I know there was a time in my active drinking where I would have been like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have this drink. I don't want to have this drink. And I would look to the right and guys say, wow, there's another way to live. There's another way to do this, life without alcohol. So my name is Paul Churchill. I am the host of the Recovery Elevator Podcast. This is episode 586. That means 586 consecutive Mondays. We've had a sober, badass warrior share their story of getting into a drinking problem and exiting a drinking problem. And today we are so lucky to have a panel of rock stars who are going to share their story with us. That is the best part about Recovery Elevator, is hearing these stories and also recognizing that we're not alone, because that was the worst part about my addiction, because I felt I was the only person in the entire world that struggled with alcohol. But before we get into introducing our panel, I want to hear from Linda. Can you share just a little bit about Recovery Point and the services you guys offer?
Yeah, I'm Linda Walker and the director at Recovery Point. We opened the doors in November of this last year and have seen over around 1,300 people since we did open. We have peer support, just helping people find recovery who are in recovery, seeking recovery, and providing the resources that they need. Also host different types of activities, events, hopefully bringing recovery into the community and being able to make recovery more accessible.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. We can start from Linda, go down this way. If you could introduce yourself again, your name, your age,
Okay.
the date of your last drink, and then your favorite summertime activity.
We're going with age?
Well, people always want to know.
I'm just wondering.
People always want to know.
Yes, Linda Walker. I am 42, grew up in northern Montana, and last drink was 10/12 of 2013. And my favorite summertime activity is brand new to my life is riding horses and going on trail rides.
Chris, 55, from here in Bozeman. Started this journey at Father's Day weekend of 2019, but I'm coming up on 4 years. Was there a question?
Favorite summertime activity?
That I would like to do again if I quit working on my house, fly fishing.
Hi, my name is Jen. I am here in Bozeman, Montana. Just turned 50 years old. My favorite summertime activity is probably hiking and fishing. Oh, and my last drink, December 14th, 2024.
My name is Jay. I'm born and raised in Anaconda, and I've been in Bozeman about 20 years. I live in Three Forks now, but I've been in the area for about 20 years. I am 40 years old. My last drink was November 7th of 2013. And my favorite activity is just anything outside with my daughter. A lot of camping.
Well, Jay, if you got the microphone right now, if you mind sharing just a little bit, like the super tight cliff notes of your story. What was it like at the end? How much were you drinking? Maybe a rock bottom moment.
Jail. A lot of jail was what it was like in the end. I had a fourth DUI. And I got a drug possession, and I just kept going to jail because they put a scram monitor on my ankle, and I could not stay sober. I could not drink. I didn't know how to not drink, so they just kept putting me in jail. So I was just isolated, alone, and my whole story is just, that's a lot in a minute. So it was just a lot of social at first, it was a lot of social drinking, a lot of partying, a lot of justified by like, this is our culture, this is what we do. And until I basically just drank myself homeless. Drinking and drugs came before everything. Once I was able to get a lot of help to step back from it, I was able to see that. But while I was in it, I just did not realize that I put everything behind the drink. A lot of criminal. I'm not a criminal, but a lot of jail, I guess, like drinking and driving was my thing. I drank and drove a lot. I risked a lot of lives over the years.
Hey, Jay, that's hard to put it all in a minute.
Like,
Yeah,
I have no idea.
That was great.
Yeah.
Let's go to Jen.
Well, a lot like Jay, growing up here is challenging in that everything seems to revolve around alcohol. Even with my loving family holiday time, it was like mimosas and you got your coffee, let's put some Baileys in there, and it was just always, it was fun, it was great, but I just kind of always had that around, and it just became the normal thing. And then just all throughout my life, it just was a part of everything. It just was just kind of almost my identity. And I guess to kind of keep this into a small chunk of time, I just it was that get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and definitely drinking way too much. It was affecting my health as well. All the, cholesterol, high blood pressure, hypertension, all that. And I was like, oh, that's because of stress. Oh, I got a lot of stuff going on. That's what it is. But I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, it's clearly because you're drinking way too much. And it's kind of funny. I was actually just sort of by chance, I got sick and I was home sick from work. And the first thing in my mind was like, oh, great, I'm home sick from work. And that means I can drink because, even though I was sick, I was still going to drink alcohol, Perfect time to get a great buzz on, whatever. And it was that night I just I was in the kitchen, and I was also not willing to go anywhere to get alcohol because I didn't want anybody to see me, because I'm like, oh, she's home sick from work. That's kind of weird. She's going to get a box of wine. That I was in my kitchen, and I'm like, wow, you're kind of out of booze and you're not going to go get any more. And it was just like this huge why just like flooded into my brain. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I would say it is a little bit of a divine intervention, because I literally at that point was like, you're done. This is it. You're done. And I didn't even drink really beer at that. It was everything else. And my brother had bought a couple beers that he left in the fridge when he was over visiting. And I was like, okay, this last beer. And I cracked it open and I took a few sips and I went, why again? And I just poured it out, which is like, seen this on the movies, but here I was pouring out this beer being like, you're done. This is not serving you anymore. It's gotta be better than this. And that was the last day that I drank.
Thank you, Jen. Chris?
A minute, huh?
I know. Right.
Very similar. Mine was a nice, long, slow roll. Being in the ski and fishing industry my entire life. So it's just, that was part of the culture. And never really thought it had a problem. And now being removed from it long enough, I'm like, oh, yeah. It was a problem from the beginning for sure. As we like to say, pretty sure my off switch was never installed correctly or at all. These one drink people, I don't understand that. Never did, but yeah, I was going out to the bars and doing all that stuff, and then later it just slowly progressed to drinking alone in my garage every night for years and years, and finally I'm like, all right, something's got to give, and I'm just going to quit, right? And that's when I'm like, oh, this is really, really hard. So I can't remember the whole series of events when I discovered these guys, but pretty much saved my bacon. I don't think I would have made it on my own at all. So, and that still took quite a while. COVID threw a nice monkey wrench into all that too. That made it funner. But yeah, now it's not even on the radar. Just, it's so nice to be free from all that nonsense and to not have to deal with it. The irony, there used to be a fly shop a couple doors down. Ooh, we drank a lot of beer in that parking lot. Oh my God. I was a guide. So after every single one, every trip, we'd sit out there. Probably hurt that gas station's business when that shop went, come to think of it. So yeah, that's a quick minute.
Chris, before you pass the mic, can you share how you first heard about Café RE? I think you were up at Highlight and you thought there was a drunken rave going on at the pavilion up there.
So it was that same summer, 2019. I had not found Café RE. I'd found something else anyway. I'm like 30, 60 days in, white knuckling it with my son, fishing. We're rowing back to the pavilion. RE was a little smaller back then, so there's, 25, 30 people that year. And they are losing their minds, dancing and partying, music blasting. I look at my son, who is 12 probably, and I go, we got to get out of here before these drunk assholes get on the road. He agreed. 1 month later, I found RE. I joined. I was on a chat. He was on it. We met for coffee, and then I'm like, oh no, that was them.
It was a sober summer camp event that was causing all that noise.
And I've been to everyone since.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you, Chris. Linda.
Yeah, I became a birth mom when I was 15. So I had a baby in high school, and honestly, it was just game over from there. It didn't matter what it was, how it was, when it was, how much. I just wanted to not feel anymore. I continued that journey until relocated down to Belgrade. And I mean, when you move and you live in the same town your whole life, how do you meet new people? You go to the bar. You know, that's how you find your new people, friends. And I continued along that path until my rock bottom was I ran 3 people off the road and hit somebody head on. And thank God I didn't kill them. And I thought, okay, maybe I might have an issue. So I also kind of wanted to just get out of trouble too, right? Because you're not really sure I've never tried to be sober before. I never really tried to really make any different changes in my life. And so when, you go to treatment, you come out and everybody's like, I'm going to become an LAC or a counselor or, start sober livings, and I was one of those. And I just couldn't navigate it anymore. I couldn't really successfully put anything into my system. And trust me, I didn't come out and do it perfectly. This was before marijuana was legal, but we're about kind of getting started there. And so, I'll just drink on weekends. Oh, I'll just smoke a little bit here, and I'll try to manipulate my using, because that's what I'm really good at, and co-sign whatever I needed to. So until I realized I can't do it no matter what. And I really did need community, and I got that. I'm a product of treatment court, so they really helped save my life too. And it's been amazing.
Thank you, Linda and Chris and Jen and Jay, for being so open about your journey and sharing with people. We've got Trevor live streaming for his community on Facebook, or for Greater Impact. We've got Café RE, our community. Oh, that's great. For myself, when I knew I had to quit drinking, I said, no worries. I'll just willpower my way out of this. I'm just going to try really hard. And when that didn't work over and over and over, I realized something was missing, and that was community. That was other people. Did you guys follow a similar trajectory? Maybe try to quit drinking alone, or try to do this alone? And was that successful, or when did you open up for community? And I know you did, because look where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And how you started, I was totally isolated, right? Even a room full of people, I felt totally alone. And that was a really horrible, horrible feeling, right? I actually started out in AA, and AA actually saved my life, really. And I think the main thing, outside of working the steps of AA, the main thing was the connection, because I'm a firm believer of the opposite of addiction is connection, right? And when you're just totally beat up and defeated, and you're totally isolating and alone, and a lot of my behaviors were just insane, right? Keep doing the same thing over and over, and my family was sick of me and all of that stuff. So I was just totally alone. I had nobody. Even one of my best friends got married, and I wasn't invited to his wedding because of how much I drank, right? The kids were there. I couldn't be around any of that. I just was kind of the black sheep, even of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Anaconda, but even for Anaconda, I was a pretty hardcore drinker. So when you're not getting invited to Anaconda events, that's, you might want to pay attention. But yeah, AA actually really, I got the connection there, met a lot of people, and to this day, a lot of my best friends are from the program. But I guess the question was when did I open up to it? It was actually, I've already mentioned that how much I love jail, but in jail, I started going to meetings of AA, and they had this thing called Bridging the Gap, and I'm actually also a product of treatment court. So when I got out, thankfully, after my last stint as an inmate in jail, they sent me right from jail right into treatment court. I didn't have an option to do anything different, thankfully, because I could not have done it by myself. So I guess it wasn't when I was open to, I was almost forced to find community. So I was mandatory, had to go to a couple of meetings a week, signing the treatment court blue book. And I filled that thing up, man. I lived in AA because I was actually homeless. My family would not let me in the house. I lived in the hotel off of, they used to call it the Crystal Palace. It's tore down now. It was a disaster. It was by KO's down on there on Main Street. And I lived there, and the room next door to me, actually, I was at an AA meeting, and I came back, and there was police everywhere and stuff all over the parking lot because a meth lab blew up next door to my room. So I was living right next door to a meth lab, and I was brand new early recovery because I got out of jail after 30 days. So I had 30 days sober in jail, and then the rest of it was in AA and treatment court. So yeah, AA is where I found a lot of my connection and community right off the bat. But then after a while, I started really just now I'm more open. I do a lot of different stuff in the community, but I'm really liking just being involved with Greater Impact. I think Greater Impact is an incredible organization. I mean, they're actually boots on the ground, actually doing stuff. We're not just like collecting money and sitting around talking how to do things. We're actually doing stuff for the community. And being involved in that doing stuff is actually how I still maintain that connection, right? Just doing stuff and being involved in a part of stuff.
Let's hear from Jen.
And this is about community.
Yeah, the importance of community, but also before that, was there a time when you tried to quit drinking alone and maybe nobody knew about it? It was just you and Jen trying to mentally figure this out.
You know, it just was just an ingrained part of who I was, and being surrounded by people that it's who they were, that I knew it wasn't good. I was imbibing, as they say, too much, and every day for forever, like my whole life. And also, I've also been kind of always I got this, I can do this myself. I mean, I am still that to a fault. Like I said before, you know, I just kind of decided on my own, just right then and there, this is it. I'm not doing this anymore, with success. And then a few months in, just felt like something was missing. I was doing all right, but something was missing. And I don't know exactly how Café RE landed on my lap, but it did. And just hearing other people's stories, and I'm like, this sounds good. This is good. This is helping me a lot. And so it kind of it was a blessing, and it landed on my lap, because then I realized, oh my God, I can't do this myself. I don't want to do this myself. This is way more successful and fulfilling to do this as a community. And so I'm very grateful for Café RE. It's been amazing.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
There was several half-hearted attempts to stop on my own. Most of them were pretty like half-hearted, make it a week or two, you know, pour it out, and then go to the store. And then, yeah, once I can't remember what spurred it all on. It was kind of bothering me, and then something popped up. 1 year, no beer. Was that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I stumbled onto that. Like, stuff started popping up in my feed. I'm like, this is weird. And kind of went through that whole thing. Then I think I found This Naked Mind and read that book. And then they had a community. I'm like, yeah. And then, yeah, I found RE and was like kind of stubborn going into it. And then, yeah, I met this whole group of people. I'm like, oh, this is so much better. And I'm still super good friends with all of them today. A bunch of them will invade my house in August. Some of them might be watching. Community's everything. You can't do it. Done multiple trips now with sober travel trips, and it's best way to do it by far. No way I would have pulled it off myself. Not a chance.
Actually, I remember that conversation. So we were actually participants of treatment court together, and I remember that apartment building blowing up, and you were like, oh my gosh, you can't even believe this. It was one of those things that I was too stubborn. I call it the lone wolf. It's a character defect of survival from when you're younger, but also realizing I didn't have a driver's license. I had to ask for help. I had to, come in from Belgrade 3 times a week and do all of those things. So I had no choice but to find community to help me get to my meetings, to my responsibilities as a participant in treatment court. And then I did. I found community in AA and in NA. NA was not very big then. It's still kind of not that big, but I remember just going and being at a park and doing silly things, just anything that we could do to remove that urge. And alcohol is one of those drugs that people they always say, how come you're not doing it? Well, I don't know. And so having those community members with me, I mean, I don't think I went to a concert. I don't think I really went a lot of places without somebody with me, so that I had that accountability, that I felt comfortable making sure that I was going to make that right choice. Because I didn't want to stop living my life, but how do you do it with accountability partners? And I think that's where that community does come in. And giving back, like Jay said. I don't know if I could be here without on my own devices, but being accountable and giving back and serving other people, that's the gift that we get, and helping other people. Community is huge. And I love growing community in multiple different ways.
Linda, we'll stick with you. You got the microphone down there. I've got 2 questions for each of you. We'll just come down, just answer them back to back. So Linda, the first one is there a recovery saying or a slogan or a mantra that you live by, or what's your favorite recovery quote? And then if you could summarize your sobriety with just one word, what would it be? So everybody will answer the same 2 questions coming down.
I feel like there's always the basic book, page 417. But what I found is it's only a thing if you make it a thing. And that's what I tell myself, and that's what I tell others. I can make mountains out of molehills. I can make anything a big deal. But if I don't, then it's not. So I always say, don't make it a thing. And one thing about one word, unbelievable. Truly, that would be mine. Amazing. I don't know. There's so many amazing words, but unbelievable to myself that I could even be here in this spot.
Especially in the earlier days, play the tape forward.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to end well, no matter what. So just play the tape forward before you take that drink. I probably should have listened to my own advice a little more often than that. And one word, peace. Peaceful.
Well, you took my word, but that's all right. We got plenty where that came from. One I love, keep it simple. Keep it simple, because it really is. I get in my own way, and I can just make it just this great big ginormous thing. And then I just come back to keep it simple. Just keep it simple. That would be my phrase. And then peace it's so true. Content. I know that's much like peace, but just feel content. Even when things are just going off the rails, at the end of the day, I'm just like, I'm content because I'm at peace.
I'm really glad I got to go last this time, but there's so many.
You're going first next.
Great. The keep it simple, stupid is pretty good, like the KISS acronym, but this too shall pass, probably, the good and the bad. There's this quote that I don't know, one of the famous philosophers said it is like, there's 10 cars coming down the road and 9 of them hit the ditch before they reach you. I can sit in my own head and spin and play mental gymnastics all day long, but most stuff never really happens, actually. So just separating the true from the false. And then my word would be, serenity. It sounds kind of cliche, but that just peace with unresolved issues. I remember when I first got sober, my brain was just a disaster. I couldn't even read a book, let alone like put together coherent thoughts or sentences. It was like 100 people talking in my head. I thought I was going crazy. So now it's just having that just peace. Like, what's your favorite summertime activity? I don't care. I'll just sit by the river because it's just so unbelievable. Sobriety's been a gift for sure for me. Very grateful.
So again, we're tuning in here at this live podcast recording for the drunkest county in America. And I looked this up before I came today. There's over 3,200 counties in America. So this is a lot. The CDC has it as 28.6 or 26.8% of adults drink excessively in a month. It used to be Wisconsin, but step aside, we are now the drunkest county. I do feel things are shifting with alcohol. And I want to ask your guys' opinion if you've seen it. Currently, the Gallup poll has it at the lowest amount of adults drink since 90 years of tracking. That's 54% of adults now report that, yeah, I drink alcohol. And you mentioned, Linda, earlier that we have to justify why we're not drinking. And the data is in. There's so much of it that alcohol is the most dangerous drug in the world. And so why we have to justify why we're not drinking it's silly, but things are changing. Have you guys noticed anything about this, like the explosion of the alcohol-free beverage world, right? You're just seeing it on more menus. I'm seeing more people being open about their sobriety. What used to take place in church basements with stale coffee and donuts, look, I'm a fan of that stuff as well, but it's coming more out into the light where both sides are coming together, normal drinkers and people who don't drink, because both sides need healing. And so how have you witnessed or how have you observed alcohol, perhaps like the stigma softening, or more people than ever really are ditching the booze and seeing it for what it really is? Have you guys seen that as well?
I don't want to go first, but yeah, I have, and I think it's awesome. I really do. I think it's kind of a tricky balance though, because I do think it's great, and especially like removing the stigma. But I also, on the other side of the coin, I think that addiction really doesn't have much to do with alcohol at all. So it depends on how I want to look at it. And I don't really know how I want to answer this question quite yet, to be honest, because there's a lot of other factors that come into play when you're dealing with addiction, and we can use other substances too. But as far as like getting rid of the stigma, it's not there, but it's definitely made a lot of progress. And then as far as like, mocktails, and Linda has this idea for like having open up a sober bar, and there's ideas floating around about doing that. I think it's wonderful because there is that opportunity to connect, because a lot of times it's not even, sometimes just walking around with something in your hand makes you less anxious. So yeah, I've seen it. I hopefully, and I know it will continue to grow like as a movement, right? I don't want to sit in my closet because I don't know where to go. Honestly, for example, like when I got sober, I had no idea recovery was even an option. I had no clue. I didn't know it existed. I was 26 years old, and I had no idea that recovery was a thing. I didn't. So it's pretty great to see that recovery is out there and getting at least noticed in a lot of ways.
Part of me was like, am I noticing it more because I'm sober now? But it's so refreshing to be out and to be able to see, like, I just immediately go right down to the bottom of the menu, and then you can usually see your NA options or just, soda or whatever. Yeah, I think that it's been so ingrained in our culture for so long. And I think, we reference cigarette smoking and how will it be like that at some point, where it's just kind of exhausted, and we look back and go, oh yeah, they used to tell us, yeah, well, one drink was good for your heart or whatever. I think we are headed in that direction. But yeah, it's refreshing to see that there are options out there, and that it's not looked at as like, ugh, she's not drinking. Or I love it, my folks, who they still drink, and they're just like, oh, you're still doing that not drinking thing. Like, yep. No, I'm not doing that at all, actually, ever. So, but yeah, it's refreshing to see that out there.
Yeah, I see it. And from a little different perspective that you might not expect, I have a construction company. We kind of have a saying, you're either in recovery, or you probably should be. Mm-hmm. But most of my subs that I've acquired over the years are all sober, which makes getting the job done awesome because they show up on time and can actually work. But yeah, there's more and more of it, and more curiosity, even in that industry, which is not what you would expect, not what I expect. And I've got kids in their 20s who they do not drink and party like I drank and partied at that age, not even close. So yeah, I'm definitely seeing it. The stigma's kind of gone away. I haven't got the, oh, you're not drinking anymore question in quite a while, which is kind of nice. But it's been long enough now. It's like, whatever. Yeah, I've definitely seen the stigma go away. And again, we're involved in it also. That might be part of it. But in the construction side of things, yeah, I've got two guys right now who we're talking quite a bit. Like, what's this all about? And yeah, come on by. We'll chat. So it's kind of nice to see.
I do see the younger generation not wanting to drink, and that's really amazing to see. They're wanting other opportunities. I don't know if our generation just completely messed it up or what happened there, but super happy to see that. I did go to my 20-year class reunion, and yeah, I totally skipped my 10. I was not ready or prepared, but it's very interesting when you aren't the person drinking, and it almost makes the other person feel uncomfortable, right? And they're just like, how do you hang out? How do you do this? And I get to still like show up and still say, hey, like, I'm here to help Dee Dee. I can support. And I really appreciate that piece. And it does bring open to conversations. And a lot of people do open up and they're like, wow, I'm really glad that I'm not the only one not drinking. It makes me feel more comfortable. And so just being able to offer that space for other people to not feel alone, I really appreciate it. And I've been wanting to do alcohol free. I wasn't sure, dry bar, sober bar, It's because that word also has a stigma attached to it. And I've been wanting to do an alcohol-free space for some years now. And we've tried some social experiments, right? So we've done a few events where we offered mocktails and people would mingle and they would dance and they would have fun and they would feel normal. And there's been other events that we only had soda, and waters and drinks. And it was like, people couldn't really understand how to communicate. And we also had a food truck out at Rock in the Rivers. And we weren't really advertising for mocktails, but once people found out, they came up and they were like, oh my goodness, I love this. At Rock in the Rivers, there's one thing to do, and that's to party. And so it is something I think that people really do want and they would appreciate. And it's amazing that there's so many opportunities. There's so many different 0.0% whiskeys and things. Like, I don't know why people would want to taste whiskey, but, some people appreciate the taste of whiskey. But you can also just have it be fun and enjoyable and be able to still be around community and just have fun. I remember going camping the first time and not drinking, and I was like, oh, what are we doing? Is this what we do? I didn't even know you could do this. Was it weird? Yes, I wasn't the only one, right? So I was like, okay, we have to have conversations and be present right here, and I don't have an escape. So, but no, I do. I like the other options.
We'll start with Jen with this question. In a life without alcohol, has something surprised you? Like your interests are different, or you want to explore a totally new hobby in life? Well, the space first has to be cleared, removing alcohol. For example, I just got chickens. We were talking about this in the parking lot. I've never had chickens before. I don't know anything about chickens, but it's something I wanted to explore, and I've got 6 chickens now, and so far so good. All 6 are still alive, and probably a couple months away from the first eggs.
I love that. It's funny you bring up camping, Linda, because I love to camp. I've camped my whole life. And last summer was my first summer sober. And it was wonderful. However, I did notice I would go camping and I was kind of a little uncomfortable in my own skin, to where I even questioned, I'm like, wow, because I associated drinking with camping so much, do I actually like to camp? So I was just kind of had to sit with that myself. I'm like, yes, you do. Now you just have more time to do other things. You have more time to fish and actually maybe catch something. And yeah, I guess, the insane amount of time now that I have on my hands, which it could go down boredom row. Oh my gosh, I feel like anything is possible. I have more time to do the things I want to do now. I bought a piano. I'm going to learn how to play the piano. So many things. I've always been a journaler, but now I'm like, maybe I want to be a writer. I just feel like all of a sudden everything's just like so vast and so big and so beautiful that it's endless and it feels amazing. I'm excited. There's just so much I want to do and travel. And I've always done those things, but not present. And now it's like I get to feel all the feels and be right there. Very grateful.
Awesome. Let's go to Chris, Linda, and then Jay.
Yeah, just the clarity and the energy to do so much more stuff. I was a super busybody until things got pretty rough, and then kind of lost the mojo and didn't do much. Now it's back, almost swung a little too far the other way. I've got a chicken coop mentorship program going on. I have chickens too, building coops, projects on the house, the mental clarity and the ability to just go do whatever. Or when your friend calls you and say, hey, we're going to Costa Rica on the 15th. And then you're like, of this month? Yeah, I'll go. You just have the time, flexibility, extra money, all that. Just, yeah, it's a whole heck of a lot better that way.
I've had a lot of real new first time for everything. And beginning of my recovery, I had to put earphones on my head. So then that way it would take away those thought process. And, I had to focus on the music. But over time, I mean, I've tried crocheting. Turns out I can't keep track and the count the same, so couldn't do that. Never liked chickens, but my friend has chickens. I'm sorry, but I'm like, they freak me out. Also turned 40 and decide I should be a horse mom and get horses. So that's my newest adventure. And my body is not as young as it used to be, so everybody just be praying for me for that. But it's been amazing. I get to do those things, right? We get to have chickens and we get to go on trips and we get to show up for other people. I've had so many things. Puzzles turned out. I found out I like puzzles. I had no idea.
Fortunately, a lot of my hobbies stayed the same. I've always been like outdoors guy, hunting. But one thing that surprised me is fishing. I actually don't like fishing. And I had all sorts of fishing gear. I don't know why. I think I just took my pull of drinking. I don't have the patience to sit there and cast over and over, so I don't really do that much. So that kind of surprised me. I don't really fish, but everything else stayed the same, basically. And then the other thing that really surprised me is, like, I like to coach my daughter's little softball. So it's like I get a really big thrill out of screaming at those little girls, man. That's something that I never thought I'd actually, ever do that. So that's pretty fun. Just being involved and just helping coach those little girls has been really the highlight of my life, really. So yeah, there's two surprising things, but the rest of my hobbies basically stayed the same. Hunting, and I never thought I'd be able to go camping sober, for sure. Now it's like I can imagine missing out on camping, actually being in the wilderness and enjoying it. I couldn't imagine drinking camping now. It just would totally destroy it for me, which is, yeah, no thanks. I'm good with that. Does that answer the question?
You did great, Jay. All of you guys have. It's so fun to hear the answers to those questions. I think, Jen, you said that anything is possible, right? When I was a kid, I had the feeling that I could do whatever I wanted to do. Let's just put my mind towards it and I could do it. Within about 6 months to a year of quitting drinking, that feeling came back. It's like, whoa, let's go do it. So we are approaching the end of this interview. You guys are doing awesome. If we could do a couple questions, almost rapid fire. So answer within 5 to 10 seconds, just answer the question, pass the mic down. We'll go down and back a couple times. And at the end, you might need to ditch the booze if line. First question is, somebody is listening to this podcast episode right now who is struggling. They don't know what their next step is. What advice do you have for that person?
You don't have to do it alone. And it's okay. You don't have to be ashamed.
It sounds kind of cliche. You can do it. Trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. I think that's why I drank for so long and didn't even try to quit, because I just thought, you can't. It's just who you are. It's not. We're not meant to do that. We're not meant to be missing out on our life. That doesn't make any sense. Know that you can do it and reach out. There's so many people that you're not alone.
Life does not have to suck.
Life does not have to suck. In fact, it's pretty awesome.
We'll keep the theme going so they hear it. Yeah, you don't have to do it alone. Reach out and engage with anybody, really, in any community. It's hard. Seems like you can't even think about reaching out, but yeah, it'll be the best thing you ever did.
I think mine's the same. Just find one person that you can trust and just tell one person and just start with that, because that phone is heavy. You're not a burden. You're not inconveniencing anybody. And that's what we get to do, is step in and help others.
Next question is, what's on your bucket list in an alcohol-free life? What are you going after?
I want to travel. I want to go overseas at some point. I want to travel. For me personally, for the community, I have so many things to help others. So big dreams, big things. I want to put myself out of a job. That would be great. Yes, that's my big dream.
Kind of doing it. Traveling, new relationship, new house, kind of all the things. So I'm sure some other stuff will come up, but at the moment, things are going pretty darn well.
Yep, I would have to agree with you both. But I have to say, maybe bucket list is, I want to get in on starting this dry bar situation. That sounds incredibly cool. I think just bucket list wise, you said, I'm doing a lot of them, but just knowing that because I'm sober and, my niece calls me in the middle of the night and she needs something, I can get in the car and go. There's that little part of me that was like, oh God, I wish I could, but wait, I can. I'm not 3 sheets to the wind. So just keeping it all going, I think.
This is an incredibly good question, but really hard. I don't know. I want to build something actually for the community that's sustainable and that helps other people. And I don't know what that looks like, but I guess selfishly, I'd probably should maybe get a passport and leave the United States once. Maybe check some out else other than, Montana. Haven't really left much. So travel, I guess. Never even had a passport. I wonder if they'd give me one. Really.
I got a light one for you, Jay. What's the point of life?
To be present. For me. Just be as present as I can.
I would say the point of life is I really enjoy helping other people. I would say for me, that's what it is. The point of life is to be able to be there for somebody else.
Point of life is actually living it, your best self.
I like that one. Point of life to help others find their gifts that God has given them.
I got 2 more questions before we depart here. What's your favorite alcohol-free drink?
Ooh, I like Mojitos. Corona NA is good too.
Water.
You're one of those water people.
Water.
Oh, there's just so many options. My refrigerator looks like a vending machine, and I'm totally here for that. I guess I love coffee. And then in like the NA world, I'm digging on, I just got onto the Zero Proof, which is a non-alcoholic website. It's great. Always was a wine person, so I get a few wines to try, and they're different.
I guess I'm boring. Water. If I'm feeling a little crazy, I'll squirt some lemon in there, I guess. But coffee, that's all I drink really is water and coffee. But those LaCroix drinks or whatever, okay, I guess.
All right, last question. Give us your own "you might need to ditch the booze if" line.
It's just not working. If life sucks, because life does not have to suck. You can reach out, ask for help.
You might need to ditch the booze if you are aware of where you last bought alcohol and you don't go there because you know that they're going to remember you.
When you buy a raft that's way too big than what you need because you feel the need, you have to have a bar in your raft, yeah, you might need to ditch the booze.
If you don't remember driving and you wake up and you're not quite sure how you got there.
I want to say thank you, Linda, Chris, Jen, and Jay for being on our panel today. If we could make some noise for our panel attendees, that'd be awesome. And let's hear it for Ty and her camera. I saw her arms getting tired the whole time.
Oh,
Sorry for the sound.
Yeah, Ty. Thank you so much. Greater Impact Recovery Point. Incredible work that you guys are doing. Thank you, Chris and Jen, representatives from Café RE, Linda and Jay. This flew by. This is what helps me stay sober, so I loved your responses, answers. I'm still a student of the game. See you guys later. Thank you so much.
thank you.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And here's my reminder to tell you that whatever you're going through, you don't have to go through it alone. And it's easy to feel like you and you alone have to have it all figured out. But the truth is, nobody does. Not myself, not your neighbor, your cat or dog. Nobody has all the answers. And nobody should do this thing called life alone. One thing that keeps me up at night and I need help with is I'm a new parent. How much screen time, bedtime, is he getting enough playtime? It's stressful. So what helps me is to talk it out with people that I trust and I know they have my back. And BetterHelp works. They've got an average rating of 4.9 stars out of 5 for a live session based on almost 2 million client reviews. You don't have to be on this journey alone. Find support and have someone with you in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/elevator. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/elevator. I've got good news. Planet Earth is going to be just fine after the human chapter. But right now, It's giving out signs of distress, many and all have anchorings to humans. The animals, who have walked alongside us for millions of years, are also giving signs of distress. Did you know that from 1970 to the 2020s, basically 50 to 55 years, there are 73% less animals on the planet, according to the World Wildlife Fund. And this also includes fish and marine life. So addiction may be the answer to this. The war on nature, which human beings have been waging for decades, centuries, doesn't make it to the other side of the bottle. When we stop poisoning ourselves with alcohol, a connection or reconnection with nature takes place. I've gone through it and I've seen it. I've heard it from people I interview. They are noticing, many for the first time, sunsets, sunrises, birds, the rivers, the streams, the seasons of life that we are all part of. It's a coming home. You're being invited home. You're being called home. The second most important relationship in your life was supposed to be with Mother Earth. The concrete, screens, and sky rises have all blocked this. But once we get rid of alcohol, the curious little boy or girl inside of you starts to get curious again. What kind of bird is that? Did I just see a butterfly? Before quitting drinking, if I saw a spider, a bug, or an insect, my foot was stepping on it. Today, I can't do it. Not because I do my best to follow a noble path, but because it hurts me. I cannot do it. A couple years ago, while in the tropics, I was using the restroom when a giant bug landed in the toilet. After finishing peeing, my hand hovered over the lever to flush the toilet. I saw the large wings fluttering in the toilet, and I was like, damn it, I knew I couldn't flush it. So I cupped my hands in the water, well, also mixed with my pee, and went to an open window and placed the bug on the window sill where it took off a few moments later. My prior addiction to alcohol and the recovery process is the reason that bug lived that day. Addiction, or the other side of addiction, is what connects our species back to the pulsations of the earth, animals, wind, sea, and within our own hearts. Addiction and the healing that follows is what connects us back to ourselves, the planet, and the animals. Yeah, we're here to ditch the booze, but screens, or the addiction to screens, may be the greatest addiction of our time, and also may be the catapult that throws the masses back into balance with nature and the animals. That is, of course, only if we put the screens down, the booze down, and step outside. I want to thank our production team for today's episode, as well as our sponsors. We have our editor, Natasha, Robin on the show notes, and Chris on the ones and twos putting it all together.
Wiki.
Recovery elevator. You took the elevator down. You got to take the stairs back up. We can do this.
I see you, Savior, I see you, Savior, Almighty Savior, I see you, Savior, I see you, Savior, I see you, Savior, Almighty Savior, I see you, Savior.